Hello and a warm welcome to the Next Gen Racing YouTube channel for our weekend preview with possibly one of the best races that we've seen in recent years coming up. The King George is our main feature on this week's show. Remember, as always, do subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like, comment, share, get it all going. We've actually got a live show coming to you this Sunday. Remember, our Goodwood preview comes this Sunday. It will be live from 6:30 p.m. We'll be covering all 5 days, just the main feature races, along with any other bets we're going to be having. So all the big studies gone into that week. And Jack, we've got a decent weekend coming up in terms of the races around the King George, but the King George is where the main focus has got to be.
Yeah, it's a stellar Saturday, isn't it? I mean, it's an unbelievable King George, even with the absence of Desert Crown. Look, it's still a fantastic race, isn't it? You got the 1-2 in the Derby coming up against the Brigadier Gerard winner, coming up against Emily Upjohn, coming up against Pile Driver, last year's winner. So yeah, it's absolutely fabulous. Going on to Sunday, I think it'd be great. I'm really looking forward to doing the live preview. I've picked out one today for the Chesterfield Cup. I've messaged you about it already. He's definitely going to be in my nap of the day. He could even be my nap of the week. So make sure you tune in on Sunday because he's 10-1 at the moment. I think his price should hold as well.
Okay, we'll be keeping that one a secret until Sunday. Looking forward to previewing the action from Goodwood. Not long to go. The rain is coming down. Hopefully that doesn't impact too many of our selections too badly come next week. But let's get into this week's show. We've got 4 races we're going to look at. 1 from York and 3 from Ascot. And we start off at York with the 3:15, which is the Sky Bet York Stakes, a Group 2 over 10 furlongs. And My Prospero is the 5-4 favourite. Alflaila is 9-2, along with Royal Champion. Mashore is 11-2. And then Check and Challenge is the 12-1 outside of the field. Now, My Prospero, Jack, is a horse that we both had big, high aspirations for at the start of the season. Haven't quite come to fruition yet. Where do we see him in this market and what do we think of his chances in this Group 2?
It's very tricky, isn't it? Do you forgive him his run in the Prince of Wales? It was almost too bad to be true, wasn't it? Look, he drifted in the market to 15-2 and then gave no account whatsoever. It was a weird old sort of Prince of Wales. So I'm looking forward to the King George already. Mostaf was obviously a good enough winner. Look, he was only beaten 2 lengths by Modern Games in the Lockinge. It was third. And Ascot over 10. You've got to respect him, but look, he's a short price on soft ground as well. It's a little bit of a question mark. I'm not too sure if he does want soft ground. You've got Alflaila. Of course, Andrea Azzini's on board for the first time with Jim Crowley down at Ascot. Of course, Alflaila on for a 4-time, a Royal Champion, of course, who won last time out in the Wolferton. But actually, I think I'm probably going to step my neck out for the outside of the field, Check and Challenge. At 12-1. Oh no, I think I know what's coming here, Sam. But look, he didn't really get too much luck there, stepping up to a 1.25 miles over the first time. But I think he actually looked like he wanted it more than anything. I'm surprised they dropped him £2 for that. I thought that was pretty lenient. But look, he was only beaten 5 lengths in the Lockinge. He didn't look like an out and out miler, but he was only beaten 2 and a bit lengths in the QE2 last year. It's on Champions Day. So I mean, it's an interesting one. Him stepping up to a 1.25 miles. I always thought that was probably where he was going to be seen to best effect. Even at Deauville last year in Group 3 company, he beat Factor Cheval, who's going to be running in the Sussex next week and was only 3 lengths behind Erevan. So I think Check and Challenge at 12-1 is still a good enough price if you're not the forgiving type of My Prospero.
Yeah, you knew exactly what was coming. I really fancy this horse, actually. I think 12-1 is far, far too big in this field. And I was hoping you'd just rattle off the English form, Jack, and you'd let me delve into the French form with this horse. But you mentioned the Pre-Daphne at Deauville, the Group 3 there, was really impressive there. That was on good ground. But yeah, the Pre-Daniel Wildenstein is probably the most interesting because that was on very soft going out there at Longchamp. We know how soft it can get, and that was on Arc weekend. And beaten by Erevan, who was definitely a top-class miler. And the Revenant was in there. And like you say, Factor Cheval's been behind this horse twice now. And I will be giving that horse a fair old shout on Sunday. Spoiler alert, I don't think he'll win, but I think he's going to run quite well. So, yeah, I think this horse is well overpriced in the market like this. The ground's soft. It's going to get messy. A lot of these horses in this field you can't really look at and go they're going to really relish the conditions, but you'd have to take a chance with Check and Challenge. 12-1, it'll be a win bet for me. I don't think you're going to play each way with the 2 places, but I think he's a win bet with some small stakes this weekend. So, good way to start the show. 12-1 outside of the field in the York Stakes. Let's move on then to Ascot, where we cover 3 races there, and we kick off with the 225, which is the Longines Valiant Stakes, a Group 3 for the fillies and mares over a mile. And Random Harvest is the 100-30 favourite. Amina is 9-2. Thornbrook is 5-1. Caddo Bell is 11-2. Vetiver is 8-1, and double figures bar these. At the start of the week, Random Harvest was actually a fair price, I think around 8-1, but you had the likes of Prosperous Voyage and Grand Dam in here. A lot have come out, and you've got Amina as well. 454 days off the track. A really fascinating horse in here. Last seen in the 1,000 Guineas in 2022 behind Cachet. So we're seeing that horse for the first time, and a fair bit's money's come for that. And then you've got the two Irish horses coming over here in Johnny Murtagh's Caddo and Thornbrook for Joseph O'Brien. Jack, how did you look at this one?
It's a very tricky race, isn't it? Look, Random Harvest loves Ascot, but the ground has to be a question mark. Has to be. It's funny, actually, Amina, I was probably going to back in the Falmouth. But of course, ground went against her and she didn't run at all. So if I was going to back her in the Falmouth, look, she should probably be going close here. Probably a little bit too short a price for me to be backing her after such a big layoff. Look, she was sixth. She was a respectable sixth in the 1,000 Guineas, wasn't she? But for me, I think Caddo Bell has a good chance. She's so unexposed. It's not a very Jack-like bet, I'd say. She's 2 from 2, very unexposed, very aesthetically pleasing on paper. Beat a filly who was second last time out in Group 3 company. She ran against her elders, got a lot of weight that day, but it was only on her second run and she stuck her neck out of the line really nicely. I mean, she won on soft ground on debut, so any rain shouldn't have been a problem. Her half-sister, Global Gift, had a good record on testing conditions, one on heavy and soft, I think. And Johnny Murtagh, funnily enough, he's 2 from 26 at Ascot, but both of those wins have come on heavy ground. It was Create Belief and one other as well. And he also does have a decent record with those over a mile on good to soft or soft ground. I think it's 2 from about, I think it was 6 or 7, but Radebarg ran a great race when I think he finished 8th at a humongous price last time out. So has a decent record on soft ground at Ascot, even though he's only 2 from 26. So I think Caddo Bell could go quite close.
Do you know what? We should just let one of us do this preview, I think, because this is another one that we agree on. And let me tell you, I'm not just following you in. This is on my notes here, but I think Caddo Bell is probably going to go and win this at 11-2. Like you say, unbeaten, is improving very, very fast, and the soft ground win at Garum Park just encourages you in with this horse. It's definitely going to be soft at Ascot. I don't think we're going to see any real good in the going. We might see a bit of good to soft, but it looks like the rain is just there to be for the weekend. And I think Caddo Bell, like I say, you'd be taking a chance. This horse is very unexposed, definitely improving. Jamie Spencer on board, over a mile at Ascot. It is the round mile, though. It's not the straight mile, but still, I'd be taking a good chance on Caddo Bell, 11-2 for the Johnny Murtagh yard. So we've agreed on 2 selections. This would be something if we agreed in this one. I mean, I've got 2 selections, but even if one of them matched up, the 3 o'clock at Ascot is the 7 furlong Moe and Shandon International Stakes, handicap, Class 2 event, and Biggles and Fresh at the top at the market, 6-1. Baradar 7-1, Spangled Mac 10-1, Vafortino 11-1, Northern Express 12-1, Bless Him and Ramazan 14-1, 16 bar. I'll kick things off with the first my selection, and I'm going to go with the top weight in here. Course and distance winner, a legend of the handicapping game, and it's Escobar, with Frankie Dettori on board. I mean, I don't think Frankie Dettori's ever ridden this horse. Interesting that the Imari Yard have gone for this. We know they like to be quite prominent with their handicap runners and big handicaps like this. You see plenty of Imara horses, but they're in fine form at the moment. And I just think, looking at the way this horse has been running, he's definitely going to enjoy soft going. He's very ground versatile in my opinion. They'll run him on whatever, but I think he'll like the soft going come this week, and he's just slowly dropped down. I mean, at the start of the season he was rated 111, he's dropped down to 104. He's well within a winning mark. I know he's getting older now, he's a 9-year-old, but I could see him running a massive race at 25-1. Frankie Dettori on board, I'm sure he'd love to have a winner on King George Day, whether that be in the King George, very unlikely, but I just think that 25-1, I think I'd take a really good chance on this. We know I'm a big fan of Star of Orion, but Star of Orion won last time out. I'm not sure whether that £6 rise that horse had. I think it might just be a little bit too much on this going. And Ropey Guest, that's the other horse that I'm going to be with for the George Markson yard. I thought this horse might actually take his chance in the Stewards Cup next week at Goodwood. A quick 6 furlongs, I think, would have been absolutely ideal for him. But yeah, 18-1, ran a really, really good race at Newmarket, and he was very unlucky, beaten by Biggles, but hasn't been raced that, still off a mark of 95. I think 18-1, Tom Queally takes the ride. He had a winner early in the week for the Moore Yard, who are also in fine form. But yeah, I'll have Ropey Guest each way at 18-1. Escobar at 25-1. Jack, you can't be agreeing on any of them, can you?
You may as well call it the Cliff Horse handicap, Sam.
You could, yeah, couldn't you? Yeah.
It's an Escobar. I'm actually pretty sure, I mean, someone can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure Frankie Dettori rode Escobar on his second start. I could have sworn it was Newbury when he beat Scaramanga. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong
He
there, but
did,
look,
he did, yeah, he
yeah,
did. Back in
also
2016, he had 2 rides. He's had a few, but it's been a while since he's ridden the horse. We're talking 2017, I think. So it's been a long old time. So he's been
yeah.
reunited, but he's actually, if you look at it, he's actually got quite a decent record on the horse. So
I think even Fran Berry rode him. I
yeah,
think.
Fran Barry's ridden him, yeah.
But no, it's a very tricky race, isn't it? One that I was definitely going to put up was Baradar, but I'm only going to have the one selection. It won't be Baradar. He was third in the Lincoln, of course, on heavy ground. Was a gallant sixth in the Victoria Cup over 7 furlongs on soft ground. He actually recorded the fastest final furlong time that day. Of course, behind Rebel Territory, he won it by 4 lengths. So I do think 7 furlongs on soft ground isn't out of his capabilities. I mean, the Buckingham Palace 7 furlongs on quick ground last time out isn't really what he wanted. I still reckon he's probably well handicapped. Is he good enough to win? I'm not too sure. I think he'll definitely be on the scene, but he's a skinny enough price at 7-1. One who I always thought could have been a group horse in the making was Ramazan, who's 14-1 for the KHK Racing team. I always thought he could have been a group horse in the making. He was third on soft ground at the Curragh in the Goffs Million. Now, if you look at that race, the form now, Galeron won it that day. Only 2 horses from the top 7 aren't rated over 100. One is Ramazan and the other one's Wahaj, who's rated 98. You've got Galeron, who's now 109, all the way down to 7th in there. Killybegs Warrior, who's now rated 104. It's a very strong race on soft ground that day. I thought he was a respectable third on seasonal reappearance at York. Didn't really look like he quite stayed a mile in the Britannia. I thought he came there with a winning run and kind of just went off like a light in the final furlong. I think this drop back to 7 furlongs, of course, saw at Haydock last time out. He's technically £1 well in for that. It was on good to firm ground. Not too sure it was good to firm ground that day. It looked like it was a little bit of a test, but he's also a half brother to Spring Memories, who was a listed winner on both very soft and heavy ground and was a useful sprinter in the Maurice de Guiche, who was only beaten just over a length by Advertise. So I do think this step back to 7, as we saw at Haydock, is definitely going to suit. I don't think the softer ground is going to be a problem. And I think Ramazan at 14-1 is a fair enough price.
Ramazan 14-1. Yeah, look, it's a fair price there. Richard Kingsford taking the ride, and also I mentioned for Baradar for Jack at 7-1. On to the feature now. This is the big one this weekend. It's the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Qipco Stakes. 1.5 miles here. And oh my word, we've been talking about this race for a fair few weeks now, and we were hoping that the field would hold up, and it definitely has. Bar Desert Crown coming out earlier today. August Rodin's top in the market 130. King of Steel 4-1. Huckham is 9-2. Emily Upjohn 5-1. Pile Driver, last year's winner, 15-2. Luxembourg 14-1. Westover 16-1. Deauville Legend 28-1. Hamish 66-1. Point Lonsdale's 100-1. And Bolshoi Ballet, the outside the field, at 150-1. Had to give a mention to every horse in the market because they certainly deserved a mention at how strong this field is. Where do we start in here? August Rodin, a dual derby winner. You've got the King of Steel camp. They're bigging themselves up, saying they can reverse the form. You've got Huckham, who was an early gamble in the week with the soft ground coming up. Emily Upjohn, who was so impressed for Epsom and stepping back up to 1.5 miles, which is definitely going to suit. You've got last year's winner, Pile Driver, at 15-2. Jack, this is a mad old race.
Oh, it's some race, isn't it? It's some race. Look, as you've just mentioned there, you've gone through all of their relevant, their respective CVs. Sorry, look, it's very tricky though. For me, I mean, it was only 2 days ago that we had 4 different favourites with 4 different bookmakers. Shame Desert Crown's been taken out. I wouldn't be surprised to see him retire now. Of course, going to the Juddmonte, supposedly that's the plan. Wouldn't be surprised to see him go to start. It looks like the problem's a little bit greater than we thought initially. I know it's leg infection, so quite different to what his injury was last time out, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him go to stud and hopefully have a good career there as well. Augusta Rodin and King of Steel, I'd probably be with Augusta Rodin out of the 2. I know King of Steel was pretty impressive Ascot last time out. I feel like there's a massive case of recency bias though for those thinking he can just overturn that form like that. Yeah, he was very impressive, but I don't think Augusta Rodin was actually that bad in the Irish Derby. Adelaide Rivers gone and finished second since in the Grand Prix de Paris. I don't think Adelaide Rivers a bad horse whatsoever. Interesting to see him actually kept in the Goodwood Cup next week. But I do think Augusta Rodin, look, they were very tentative about running him in the Verton Futurity on heavy ground. I think good to soft, even if it is soft ground. Ascot's a lot different to heavy ground at Doncaster, isn't it? So I do think at 10-3 he is the one to beat. You've got to respect Huckham. Emily Upjohn seems like the one who's a little bit kind of forgotten about. Maybe her turn of foot will be stunted in this ground. I feel like that's kind of
She
the
bombed
common.
out last year though, Jack, didn't she? She's one of
Yeah,
the a
she did.
couple in here that bombed out last year.
Yeah, obviously as Westover did as well. Interesting enough, they say if the ground is definitely soft, they're not going to run him. To be fair, I don't think a bit of give in the ground's actually going to be the worst thing in the world for him. He looked like he just got to the line in the Grand Prix de Paris. He kind of fought and went again when Zagre looked like he was travelling all over him to win in a record time. Obviously, the ground was rapid there. Now, I'm going to put one up here because I think the top of the market is very hard to split. And I may be going absolutely crazy here. And I know he has, with the allowance, Point Lonsdale has £20 to find with Auguste Rodin, but he's 100-1, Sam. He's 100-1 on any ground worse than good. He's 5 from 5. He's unbeaten on anything worse than good ground. He won on heavy ground in the Alleged Stakes. How on earth did he win at Chester? He was off the bridle early over 1.25 miles. And look, he wasn't disgraced in the coronation. The time was quick on the day. I mean, over 1.5 miles on the quick ground. It was way too sharp for him, and he was by no means disgraced. Yes, he was beaten 9 lengths by Emily Upjohn, but he pulled clear of both Tunners and Hurricane Lane, who, yes, aren't probably both Group 1 performers, but look, it wasn't the worst performance in the world in adverse conditions. Adam Kirby's on board. How great is it to see Adam Kirby get a big ride again in a big Group 1? Being able to make the weight, it would be some story. But look, I think people forget he's a brother to Broome. Broome has one Group 1 win. And what was it? It was on soft ground in the Grand Prix de Paris. I mean, his record on worse than good, he's 6 from 12. And I think with Point Lonsdale, I've never been able to warn to him whatsoever, but he's 6 from 9. He's still relatively lightly raced. He's had one run over 1.5 miles. He is unexposed over this trip. Broome got better and better as he went further and further. And I don't see any reason why Point Lonsdale can't outrun his price. He's 100-1, Sam. He's 100-1. I think it's a massive price, and hopefully he'll be able to sneak a place.
Point Lonsdale 100-1. I mean, Jack alluded to that Auguste Rodin's definitely the one to beat, and I completely agree with him. I think a lot of people, we've tried to, I hear a lot of people saying that, you know, the way he ran in the Irish Derby, there are a few concerns in the way that he finished his race and stuff like that. I just think he's an out-and-out battler, and he is a very, very, very good horse. And I think he gets a little bit of disrespect for that, but I think he's a really strong horse. 130, I think it's a really good price, potentially about him in this race, because I think he should be a little bit shorter, being honest. The horse that is just so underestimated, and how often does this horse get underestimated, is last year's winner at 15-2 is Pile Driver. He can go on any ground condition. He really can. I know William Muir, he said in plenty of interviews, even in the past, just saying how good this horse is on any going, really. I don't think they're going to be concerned by the soft going. I think they're still going to take their chance. Their plan is to go for the arc, and they know that you're more likely or not going to get soft ground in the arc, so they're not afraid of it. And I just think 15-2 is far too big a price. He was so impressive at Royal Ascot in the Hardwick. They said they'd improved £10 for that. William Muir came out and said they think he'll improve plenty. So I think he's just very, very good, and I think he's been overlooked. I know he's one of the older horses in the field, but I've got a feeling he could be very talented. I'm a bit disappointed they say Westover may come out if the ground comes up too soft, because I do think that he might actually enjoy it. I mean, he ran on good soft ground in Saint-Cloud, and he set a track record out there, which, you know, thinking about the way he did that and the horses that he beat, Zagre was a horse he beat. He confirmed the form actually from the Shima Classic, didn't he? Because he beat Zagre. Zagre was third in the Shima Classic. Westover was second to Equinox. And
yeah, I do think was fourth. The ground, it said good soft out in Saint-Cloud. It was rapid. It was nowhere near good that day.
Yeah. But I mean, look, this horse has really good form. I think he's taken a little while to get going this season. That, like I say, that form of the Shima Classic is very good. Mostadaf winning impressive style at Royal Ascot. If he does run, I think I'd be each way on Westover, but I'd have to have a win bet on Pile Driver. He'd be, I think, the second horse to win it back to back this century, enable the only other horse that's done it. So yeah, 15-2. He's been underestimated once again. I think Pile Driver is going to go mightily close in the King George this year. And there we go. That's it for our big race previews. We're going to be looking forward to Goodwood now. Like I say, we're live 6:30 p.m. on Sunday for that, so do check that out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you do not miss a thing. Your opportunity to get questions in for us as well, and we will be answering and getting involved with anything you have to say during the show. Jack, is there a best bet this week? I know we've only previewed 4 races, but if you had to stick your neck out.
Oh, great question. It's tricky. I'm going to probably go with Ramazan.
Oh, Ramazan. Okay, yeah, I'll let you have the international stakes. I might have gone Escobar, but I'm going to go with Check and Challenge in the York Stakes. I just think that he's far too big a price on soft ground when there's plenty of concerns about the ones towards the top of the market. So check and challenge at 12 to 1 will do me nicely. So like I say, do subscribe, do like, do get your comments in. Let us know who you think is going to be winning the King George this weekend. We'll be intrigued to know. And we will see you again on Sunday evening at 6:30 for our live Goodwood preview. Thanks for watching.